right around the corner from some football. That means the Just Beavin podcast is making its return for its third season. Welcome back into the pod, folks. Andy, JP, the Beav here with you. Season 3 of this podcast. And recording this here in the middle of July, we figured we can't go all the way until the final week of August into early September without any content for the league and for everyone involved. So we got our first mini series. I don't even know if we're going to call it a mini series. This is a full on series that we're doing. JP, this was your idea, so I'll let you kind of lay the groundwork for the listeners, for the viewers, as to what's going to be happening, the content here leading up to the beginning of our 5th season as a league.
Yeah, we had a lot of dialogue about what we wanted to do in the off season, and we kind of felt like, while we do put content out tailored towards the league, we think that sometimes, we miss the mark on maybe not exactly what the league is looking for. There's nothing more that people enjoy than listening to other people talk about them. And so what we've decided to do is rank the 14 teams in the league in what will be our week 1 power rankings, or headed into week 1 power rankings. And we are going to do an episode for each team dedicated to breaking down each team's roster, position by position, draft capital, future, superlatives at the end, awards, all that good stuff. And so all 14 of you, all 13 of you are going to be getting an individual episode. And to go along with that will be your position in the power rankings headed into week 1.
Yeah, we figured, and like I said, this was all JP's idea, so we're giving him the credit. But as a group, we figured, we give our preseason power rankings either in its like welcome back to the league year episode, to kind of gloss over it. Figured we have all this time and we have time in our schedules to kind of put something together here. And, occasionally when we have our weekly episodes, some teams get more shine than others. We kind of just gloss over some teams. This is a perfect time to show everyone some love and really dive deep into the rosters. Beav, I know you're fired up for this and what's going to take course over the next month plus leading into the season. Just your thoughts, man, as we're getting ready for our 3rd year as a podcast.
Yeah, man, I'm just happy to be back. I'm ready to get this series started. I'm really excited. I'm really ready to get diving in these teams. So let's get it going.
As JP mentioned, 14-1. That's how we're going to go. That's how this series is going to start. Without further ado, we'll get into our 14th ranked team here in the power rankings, our very first episode of this series on the Just Beavin podcast. To the shock of probably nobody here in our league, our 14th team, on the watch. Shock to probably nobody that Matthew Hendricks, better known as Tyson Chicken Nuggets, is going to be our 14th team, ringing out the basement of our power rankings. We'll go through Matt's roster, the team awards, like we talked about in the intro segment. Here in a minute, JP just had a great idea, though. We are going to look through Matt's schedule this season, look at some of the potential fun matchups. Spoiler, there probably won't be many, as Matt is actively not trying to win games this year, give out the ceiling and the floor in terms of his schedule and what his record may look like this season. JP, do we want to start with the schedule or do we want to start with the roster?
We'll do the schedule at the complete end.
Complete end. Love it. All right. So without further ado, and we ranked everybody's positional groups as well. So we have our power rankings and then we will do all of that. So we'll start with Matt's quarterbacks and I'll go first because I think I speak for everybody. I have Matt's quarterback group ranked as 14th out of 14. Once again, shock to nobody. None of his guys are starters. And out of those 4, all right, let's set a fun line here, fellas. Over under 2.5 starts made by this quarterback group this season.
2.5?
Yes.
I was gonna say it kind of depends.
I was gonna say 1.5, but that feels kind of generous. I think 2.5 is a good one.
I think I'm gonna take the over, but it really only boils down to Daniel Jones here. I mean, obviously you can say Mills gets concussed or Stroud gets concussed or something, but I mean, Leonard's the only one with any real glimpse to start here if Jones's rehab gets delayed or something along those lines.
Well, I could see Bryce getting concussion and Pickett goes in.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying is you have to hope for an injury. I mean, Leonard has actual shot here. There's standing with that.
Leonard could open up the year as the Colts starter, and we don't know. But either way, do we even really need to talk much about we've seen the clips of Drew Aller that came out at rookie minicamp of his footwork. JP and I think have already mentioned it on this podcast. If not,
Oh
we'll
my
talk
God.
about it right now. How
I, I'll,
atrocious.
I'll I'll give credit to Mike McCarthy. I mean, he certainly raises the floor of offenses, and he's typically pretty good at finding quarterbacks. I mean, even if you look at the times in Green Bay's, I mean, those backups were like randomly getting good jobs. Like Matt Flynn got paid a bag to go be the Seahawks starter, if anyone
Yeah.
remembers that. But so I mean, I'm not saying it's Drew Aller's doomed to fail, but those camp clips, how do you even get drafted off of that?
In the third
It's
round.
crazy to think. And we had times before this past season where people were putting Aller in the first round, top 10. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to go off this year and he's going to become someone's franchise quarterback, let alone, yes, we start seeing those clips. So, good news. If you play Matt, most of you do this season in the league, you're not going to have to worry about one of the 10 positions because Matt is not going to, most likely, barring injuries and other things. And even if one of these guys is a starter, they will not be providing much of anything. So it's probably the quickest position group we will talk about and glance over here in the power rankings. The running backs, though, we have guys who are actually going to take snaps in games that matter. JP, I'll let you get rolling here with your running back ranking for Matt, looking at this group of 5 gentlemen on our screen.
Yes. So I'm looking at my rankings, and Matt's team is one of the few teams I align with keep trade cut on the positional rankings. I have Matt's running backs ranked 14th in the league. This is on par with the quarterback room. There's not a single starter in the room. Matter of fact, there's not a single second stringer in the room. So, there's really not much to make of it. You're really hoping that Singleton can take Spears' job because he's not going to take Pollard's job. I mean, it's funny because they came from the same school, but if you put like Singleton's vision, like that's like Drew Aller's footwork, but in the running back realm. I mean, Nick Singleton couldn't see a hole staring him in the face. It's unbelievable
Yeah.
watching him. Keaton Mitchell, I mean, is it going to be out Kamani Vidal? I don't think so. Kamani Vidal is probably the best running back in that room, even with Hampton there. I mean,
That's such a weird room in LA. That is such a bizarre room.
100%.
it's even weirder when you look at how the room's been used with Harbaugh there. With when they signed Hassan Haskins off the practice squad, and he was immediately getting carries in crunch time games. Like that's the kind of stuff that it's so hard to keep track of. Malik Davis and Esme are pretty much useless at this point. Trey Benson, you just gotta hope gets traded, but this is an abysmal room. I'm almost to the point where I think Matt blew his roster up too much. I don't know if there's coming back from this fucking train wreck. So
Beef.
Yeah, I also had Matt's running backs on the as the 14th in the league. I do have a lot of praise though for Singleton. I eventually do think he'll be the RB2 in front of Spears halfway through the season. But we'll see what happens. A matter of fact, when JP was talking, for Trey Benson's sake, it just really depends if he can stay on the field this year. He got a lot of opportunities last year, but he was always hurt. So it'll be weird because Jeremiah Love's going to be a ton of that backfield in Arizona this year, and we saw what the Rams offense last year. Michael LaFleur loves running that ball. So yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything. So.
Yeah, nothing here. I know we talked a lot about Jack Bauer last year, and this isn't throwing shade at anyone else in the league. This is Matt's episode, but we always joke that Bauer had to play Chris Brooks, a special teamer in his lineup. This is worse than that, quite frankly. It really is. So Singleton is the best hope at something for Matt in the running back group, and that's a really bad sign when that is the case. I'll start us here at receivers, and then I'll go to JP because I know him and I have the receivers ranked the highest one of this panel. Receivers are 13 for me on Matt. He does not have the worst receivers in the league. He's got a lot of them too, plethora, a dozen in this group. Keep trade cut as him at 13. That's also where I have his receivers. Jordan Tyson's a dog. If you watch JP and I's mock drafts that we had, the series that we had in the spring, we raved about Tyson and his talent, what he could be. He's in New Orleans, which also, if you looked at our post draft and where all the guys landed skill position wise, this was a really bad rookie draft for guys skill position wise in fantasy football. Tyson ends up in one of the better spots. Matt needs him to be Superman this year as a rookie. He needs him to be the very best player on his team. Matthew Golden's in there as well. A very disappointing rookie season for the Packers first rounder last year. Trey Harris, Drew, I believe you were the Trey Harris truther for quite some time over in LA. His role really never amounted to anything as a rookie. And then three other rookies for Henny here. It's Surratt, Hurst, and Bell. Other than that, it's just a bunch of depth guys. So, yes, he's got a lot of these receivers, but most of them aren't really going to contribute. I think for him, he's really got to hope outside of Tyson, one of these three rookies, Surratt, Hurst, or Bell, goes off. It is not a good group, but it is not the worst group in the league. Therefore, I have it ranked 13th.
Yeah, I had it ranked 12th. It is simply for two reasons. As Andy alluded to with Jordan Tyson, big Tyson guys over here. Although, again, like Andy alluded to, the landing spot was not ideal for fantasy football purposes. Luckily, Olave has a track record of not being healthy. Unfortunately, Tyson also has that. The reason I rank this room so highly is because I truly am expecting a Matthew Golden breakout. Dobbs leaves, that opens up, Dobbs leaves, that opens up the spot for Golden to fill immediately. I know they paid Watson and paid Reed, but all the skill sets are different. I think Matthew Golden has the true X potential, and I think he's going to break out in that role. I also think Elijah Surratt is going to be the number two in Baltimore, and so I gave some grace to that. But it's really because I think Matthew Golden is going to be a top 25 receiver at worst this year. I have a lot of hope in Matthew Golden, and so that's a big reason I put Matt's wide receiver core at 12. I like the picks he made with Hurst and Bell. I think the X position in Tampa Bay is wide open as well. And then Skylar Bell, unfortunately, he's going to have to wait a long time now, especially with DJ Moore there for targets to open up. But he is a very good player, and I think his time will come eventually. And they realize they could probably dump Shakir. So, yeah, this is Matt's, I guess, golden goose here, but it's still not that great. So,
Yeah, I had Matt's receivers at 14. With the situations Matt's in, he just has a lot of upside guys besides Tyson. I mean, Jordan Tyson's going to be a stud in this league for a very long time. As Matt says, he's going to be the next Jamar Chase. I don't know about that, but he's going to be very good in this league. Trey Harris, I do still have some hope for him. I do think he's going to be at receiver three in LA, and with McDaniel there, I think that's going to help a lot. You see already the big hype around Quentin Johnson coming in. I don't know if that's really going to happen, but you never know. But the one receiver I want to talk about on Matt's team that I'm really looking forward to is I'm really looking forward to Mumpfield. You see him at number 9. I'd take him all the way up to 7. Maybe I'd probably even take him above Skylar Bell. I do think he's gonna have a role this year in LA. I think he does find that receiver 3 in LA, and I think he's gonna have a good year. So that's kind of my sleeper for Matt's team. I think he's gonna have a good year. So.
Spelling bee legend, Konata Monkfield. Beav, we'll go back to you here for the tight ends for Matt's team. He does have a rookie in Eli Raridan and Mason Taylor, who he's had around in his time throughout the league.
Yeah, I also had his Titans at 14, unfortunately. It's sad to hear that, but it is what it is. You look at his team, I'm really excited for Eli Raridon. I think he should have shadow Hunter Henry this year as he should. And then I think that year two, I think he's going to spike up and be their starting tight end in 2027. So I do like that pick for Matt, especially getting him late. I think he got him at 412 or maybe a little earlier, and like 406. I'm not too sure, but steal a pick for Matt. I really like that pick in the draft this year. Another guy I want to talk to you about as tight ends real quick is Mason Taylor. It's kind of a weird situation. Matt took him again in the second round last year. Everyone was really high on him, praised him. But now they just took Keon Sadiq in the first round this year. So probably said that name wrong, but but I don't know. It's gonna be a weird situation, but we'll see what happens. That's all I
JP,
got there.
yeah, I pretty much just echo everything Drew said. I like the Raritan pick. I think he's literally Hunter Henry, so it'll just be a changing of the guard eventually when Raritan gets his spot on the field. And unfortunately, I think the Sadiq pick kind of cemented Mason Taylor as more of the wide tight end. He's going to be the big blocking tight end, and so I think that kind of castrates him out. And I can't imagine. I know keep trade cut is got his value at what it is, and he's somehow trending up weirdly. I don't think that will or he's trending down, I guess. Sorry. He's going to continue to trend down. That won't climb any higher than this. His value is probably never higher than when it was when Matt initially drafted him. So, unfortunately, this is a god awful tight end room to match the paint on the walls on the rest of Matt's team. But at least Eli Raritan is something to smile about, and maybe he'll be a top 18 tight end one day.
Yeah, I have Matt's as 14 as well. I don't have anything to add in terms of the quality. I'll look at I don't know about you guys. This could be lack of ball knowledge on my end. I should maybe know the sixth guy. I could not tell you who the seventh guy is. I've never heard
John
of
Michael
that guy.
Gillenborg, wide or tight end from Wyoming. I
What
think he's
team
on
is he
the.
on?
I want to say he's on the Chiefs practice squad. That could be
Yeah,
completely wrong, but
I can't say I've ever heard of that guy in my life before. And Keep Trade Cut has the bottom two guys at literally zero value. Like they're Matt is just
yeah, he's
filling
on
out
the
roster
Chiefs.
spots. Filling out roster spots at this point. I don't shout out Tyler Higbee. Like I feel like he has been hurt for the past 3 years. I've rostered him, I think, for most of his time in our league. Yeah, just really bad, man. And Higbee, I think, drives up the average age of this tight end room by at least 2 years.
Oh,
If Higbee's not in
100%.
this tight end room, this tight end room's probably like 23.8 average age. Instead, it's over 25. Yeah, man, just really bad, as JP said. It matches everything else on the team. So um, that's all I got. We can get to the one positive note, JP, about Matt's squad, and I'll let you start here with his draft picks.
Yeah, gonna scroll down here so we can see him by the year. You know, he's got one, two, three, four, five first in the next three drafts. That's something to work with. The only problem is he's barely got anything in 2028, and he only has 5 picks in the first 2 rounds this year. So even if everyone he drafts is a slotted in starter, you're still missing 5 other starters out there. It almost looks like whoever you draft in the third round in 2027 is going to genuinely end up making your starting lineup headed into the 2027 year. So this is a positive, but at what cost? It almost feels, I mentioned it earlier, but it feels like Matt might have, gone way too deep into the rebuild and not got enough return. I figured he
There
could
is
have
such
fleeced.
thing in this league, man. Like
Yeah, I figured he could have fleeced Ty a little bit better and not been in this position, but this is rough. But I will say the he does have Wade's pick and his own pick. So not to spoil anything, but he should own 2 picks in the top 5 next year at the absolute worst. So that will at least be something to keep his interest in the league and coming back and paying dues.
what do you have his picks ranked out of
Oh
14?
yes, thank you, thank you. I had Matt's overall draft capital ranked 4th among the league.
Okay. I have met third just because we've heard a lot about this 27 draft, right? For years, how great it could be. Having 3 firsts and 5 picks in the first 2 rounds is pretty important. Matt, for your sake, and whether you listen to this or not, you should. We've had this saying for the past couple of years for guys who have brought up the rear in this league. The most important day of your weekend is going to be Saturdays, not Sundays, and watching the college guys and really familiarizing yourself with who could be on your big board when we talk about the draft Memorial Day weekend of next year. I mean, you'll watch on Sundays too, because that's what we all do. But still, Saturdays for Matt are going to be the most important days of his weekend. Could he have gotten more draft capital when blowing this up? Sure. Did he probably blow this up too much? Yes. But still, he's going to have to deal with the card he's been dealt. He can't go back, and he's got to work with what he has right now. And what he has is a good opportunity in this 2027 draft. The limited picks you mentioned, JP, in 28 are a tad concerning, and then he's got all his own picks in 29. I would say try to go get more, but there really isn't much left on this roster worth selling. And if you can't possibly sell much more on this team, man. So
Wow.
this is kind of where he's stuck. It's going to be a rough year for Matt, but 27 draft, it's an important college season, and he better hope that along other guys, the Jeremiah Smiths of this draft, this is guys are going to pop this fall. He better hope this is an electric skill position class coming up in the fantasy draft next year. Drew.
Yeah, I had actually Matt and 2 in and picks just because, I don't know. When I was ranking these, I felt like just because I went based off his 2027 picks, just because he had so many firsts in 2027. And then with our other guys, which we'll get into, I'll kind of talk about why I put them a little lower than where Matt is. But you do see the concern, what you guys mentioned, where he has fewer picks in 2028 and 2029, which the picks in 2028 are a big concern since he is in a big rebuild. And like JP said, and you kind of touched on it, Yak, he's not going to be able to fill all those roster spots with just two picks in next year's class. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he does, or maybe uses his picks in 2030, which is crazy, to maybe trade for a player to go in. So
How are
yeah,
we talking about 2030?
isn't
I
that
Man,
remember
nuts?
I remember the first year of the league when I gave up all my assets for 20 picks in 2025, and that draft's gone. That draft's gone with the wind,
Yeah.
which is just insane to think about. But
yeah. Time flies when you're having fun, man. No doubt.
Yeah.
That's like I said, draft picks are a bit for Matt. Those are the rankings. Our second part of his episode here, we're giving out awards. The awards are going to go as follows: Team MVP, Breakout Candidate, X Factor, and then Beeve threw in a great idea: disappointment. Who could be set up to have a rough year coming up, and who are the guys to highlight here for Matt's roster? I'll go first if you guys don't mind. I'll start us off, then we'll go JP and then Drew. Real quick, do we want to go? Do you want me to list all of my awards, or do we want to go award by award? Like I'll get Team MVP, then JP, then Drew, or do we just want to go all of our awards at
we could do
once?
award by award.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
So team MVP, and then actually we'll rotate. So I'll give out the team MVP first, and then JP will give out the breakout candidate first, et cetera, et cetera. My team MVP for Matt's team is going to be Jordan Tyson. It kind of has to be, considering, like we mentioned, he doesn't have a starting quarterback under center, and all his running backs are at the very best third on their respective depth charts, at least at this point as we're recording this here on July 20th. Tyson's a rookie, so the fact that we're giving out a team MVP award to a rookie feels kind of crazy, but that's what he has to be, at least for the sake of Matt's team this year. He not only needs to be a guy who has a great year, but he needs to be an instant impact. Like we're talking week one, what we saw from, not just saying this because he's on my team, but Emeka Egbuka going off for 20 in the opening week of last season. That's the type of start Jordan Tyson needs to have. He's going to have a big role with New Orleans, and we hope for Matt's sake and just for him in general. JP and I both love Tyson. We've raved about him all offseason that he gets off to that big start, but kind of by default, Jordan Tyson, in my opinion, has to be Matt's team MVP.
Yeah, I'll just hop in here and shout at you, Yak. I got the same MVP for Matt. I got Jordan Tyson. I just think he's going to be carrying Matt's team a lot this year, just like I kind of threw in the comment. Matt thinks he's going to be his Jamar Chase, and he's significantly going to have to be his Jamar Chase if he wants to compete any weeks this year. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a big impact on Matt's team this year, and the only impact, if not. So, JP, what do you got?
I have his team MVP as Matthew Golden, as I kind of alluded to when we were talking about the wide receivers. It's not, I think Tyson's a better player, but situationally, I think Golden is in a prime position to be the number one receiver on his football team. Whereas I think they just paid Achan, they got Olave, they still have Jawan Johnson in the building. So I think Tyson's going to be in a tougher spot competing. His boom weeks will probably be better, but just as an overall MVP, I think Golden leads his team in points.
And JP, we'll keep it here with you, the breakout candidate for Matthew's squad.
Yep. For my breakout candidate I also had Matthew Golden. So that I'm not going to go on the tangent again, but I also had Matthew Golden.
My breakout candidate, and I wanted to save Golden for later, and that'll be why. Any of the other three rookie receivers not named Jordan Tyson. I think one of those, it's almost by you're trying to play the odds. One of them should have a halfway decent role. Well, for Matt's team, they're going to have a halfway decent role, whether they produce or not. But in terms of actual quality production on a weekly basis, any of those other three receivers, Hurst, Bell, and why am I blanking on the other one? Who is the other receiver that he has? Oh, Surratt.
Yeah.
Probably Surratt's probably the leader in the clubhouse, but I think any of those three. I didn't want to go one specific guy because I kind of grouped them all in the same tier as to where they stand on Matt's roster. So any of the other three rookie receivers not named Jordan Tyson are hopeful breakout candidates in terms of Matt's situation, in my opinion. Drew.
Yeah, my breakout's actually Nick Singleton. I don't know. I just ever since they drafted him, I really think he's gonna take over Spears as the RB2, and eventually I think he is gonna take Pollard's job. Now this year, absolutely probably not, but I do think there is a vision for Singleton in that backfield, and I think Daboul is gonna get him right, and he's gonna be an RB1 there someday. So I think division's high for Singleton. I think there is a very, very good chance he breaks out.
And then Beav, we'll keep it here with you. The X Factor. Who do you have as the X Factor?
Yeah, I kind of got two here, but same category. I got Keaton Mitchell and Trey Benson. You know, if they can somewhat perform for Matt and get him some, just I don't know how to the right word for this, kind of like it's not boom's the right word, but something along those lines. Like if they could maybe
Crack the
factor in,
rotation, start getting
yeah,
some snaps.
yes, there you go. Yeah, get some snaps and get on the field and catch some passes. I think that'd help Matt and get him in the right direction on some weeks. Like maybe when he's playing a date or playing a Wade or tie, I think that could very help him and get him some points there. So those are my two X factors for Matt here.
Mine is Matthew Golden for the similar reasons that JP listed him as the MVP. The X factor is Golden because, while in my opinion, Tyson's the MVP because I think he could be more stable. I think Matt's team's only going to go as far this year as Matthew Golden is going to allow them to go. If Golden can step in, can be the guy that Green Bay drafted him to be in the first round a couple of years ago, that will be huge. It's how much will he grow? That's going to depend on Matt's potential ceiling, which we'll talk about when we get to his schedule. JP, your X factor.
Yeah, so I have my X factor as Trey Harris. I think a lot of what Matt's going to be looking for is gonna fall on Trey Harris's play. He paid a lot for Trey Harris, relatively speaking, and so I think Trey Harris, if Trey Harris ends up being the wide receiver 2 in LA, the wide receiver 3 at least, I mean, based off of last year, if he's just out there getting snaps, when they're in 11 personnel, that's going to be a big win for Matt. That's going to be huge, and I think Trey Harris will really tamper the expectations that Matt has going forward. And then I'm just gonna take this and run into the disappointment segment,
Go for it.
which I also have listed as Trey Harris. I don't believe in Trey Harris. Didn't believe in Trey Harris when he was coming out of college, and so I think that Trey Harris is going to disappoint Matt. But they go hand in hand because if Trey Harris does exceed expectations, then Matt got Trey Harris for a bargain, and he's looking at a potential. Quentin Johnson may end up not being the long term guy there. He probably isn't going to be the long term guy there. Spoiler alert: Trey Harris could easily be the replaceable, the guy to replace him there. Just on a talent basis, I was never a big fan of Trey Harris. I haven't seen it in the NFL. I don't see it now, so I think that is lining up to you Matt's biggest disappointment.
Eve, I'll let you go and then I'll wrap out before we get to his schedule.
Yeah, I really think his biggest disappointment is going to be Drew Aller. I don't see him getting on the field unless Rodgers breaks his other leg and then McCarthy says, "You got to get out there, man. Let's go." But here's the thing: I still think Howard's better than him. So I think Howard would get the call before Aller gets the call, which is crazy because they took him in round 3 this year, which is still blows my mind. But I still think he's going to be the QB3 going into the season. So I think Howard still has the upper hand on him, and with the season under his belt already behind Rodgers, I think that helps him even more. So I just don't see the upside for Drew Aller, and I don't think he's going to see the field at all this year.
I'm so happy I let you go first because you kind of lead perfectly into mine. I'll take yours a step further. Not just Drew Aller, it's the entire quarterback is going to disappoint Matt because they're all one and the same. Like we mentioned, they're all cut from the same cloth. Some would speak. It's guys that aren't going to see the field, so it's bound to set up for disappointment. As we mentioned, when anyone in this league plays Matt, there is a good chance, barring injury or replacement. Don't come back and clip me and say, "Oh, you promised." There is a good chance when you play Matt, you are going to be playing with a one-man advantage because he will have someone in at quarterback who probably will not be playing. So therefore, my opinion, the entire quarterback room is going to disappoint Matt here this season. Those are his awards. We'll wrap out the first of our 14 episode series power rankings heading into this 2026 season by taking a look at Mr. Hendrick's schedule and how things line up. If you check out our Instagram account, beaver.fest, you can see all of these as one of our pinned posts as to what our schedules look like this year. I love the picture. So we'll do ceiling and floor, and then Beeb, you had mentioned if there is an exciting matchup to look at here with Matt. I don't really know if there is. JP, you're very lucky. You get to play Matt in North versus South week in week 3. And I'll let you start because you are his rivalry week matchup, the floor and the ceiling for him this season in terms of win-loss record.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. The floor is 1000% 0-14. I think I speak freely for everyone, and I think everyone would agree with me on that. I really,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I would love to sit here and give Matt, the respectable time of day and break down his schedule week by week. But as we looked at his team, there's literally no quarterback. And so his ceiling, I think, to go hand in hand with the 0-14. I'm looking at this. He plays Dade twice. So I'm going to give him a ceiling of 1-13. But again, he will have no quarterback unless there's an injury. So I see his floor at 0-14, ceiling at 1-13.
Yeah. Though, like JP said, I'm gonna keep this short. The only team I see him beating is Week 10 Scat Squad, or Week 12. I guess just saw they played twice. Um, but I still think Dade gets it done, and I think Matt goes, unfortunately, 0-14. Uh, so very easy win for the North South week, which is great for us. And yeah, that's all I got. Yak, what do you got?
I'm in agreement. Same floor, same ceiling. His best shots are probably against Dade. But the matchups I'm most looking forward to week 1 and week 9, he plays Luke. It's always fun. The war on Route 4 when Matt and Luke play each other. The trash talk. But unfortunately, in that same round, they're really it's like we've had the battle of the Cams, Cam Crook and Cam Boyer the last few years. Those battles, while it is fun, it's also not because Boyer's dominated Crook and just in terms of Cam Crook not having a competitive team. And it's kind of the same thing. That sure there will be trash talk, but how much trash talk? Who knows? I'm sure Luke will still bring it, so it's fine. But those are always fun when those two talk trash to each other. But it won't be as competitive of a rivalry matchup as we've had in years past. So that'll do it for our first episode here on this power ranking, fellas. Do we have any final thoughts before we send these folks on our way? I'm excited for what the rest of the series is going to look like.
I got one more thought. I
Go
I
for it.
still think by week 1 he trades for Bryce Young again. That's my final thought. I think he does it. I think he does it.
Love hate relationship with
I think
Bryce
he
Love
overpays and
or
just
Bryce Young.
pay,
Jeez.
and he just trades Wade's first back for Bryce Young and calls it a day. I think that's what he does. That's my prediction. Wade's first next year for Bryce Young.
Do we think this is the worst team of all time in our 5-year league history?
Undoubtedly. I texted that in our group chat earlier and said this is by far the worst roster that's ever
Yeah.
been put together in the history of this league.
This is
And
bad.
that's saying something. We've had a team that hasn't won a game before. So
It'll be interesting to go back and look at the 2024 Crook squad and see the points for versus Matt's. I mean, I can't imagine it's even going to be close. Cam at least was trotting out 9 starters or 10 starters, whatever we start.
Yeah,
there you have
bad.
It's only up from here, clearly, as we're going 14-1 here in the power rankings. That's our first episode of this series. That's going to lead us into our 5th season as a league, the 2026 campaign here of Beaverfest. You know where to keep it in. Stay tuned here. Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's the plan for releases, unless said otherwise. The first episode of 14, and we'll see you on the other side right here on the Just Beavin podcast.